So if we're thinking about the generation of these surface waves, how does that happen? Well, they start on the left-hand side of this picture. You have the wind blowing across the ocean surface, and that generates little ripples, and these ripples are actually called capillary waves. And they're known as capillary waves because the surface tension of the water surface plays a role, just like it would in little tubes in plants known as capillaries. So capillary waves. But the wind keeps blowing on these, and in fact it pushes differentially across the wave. So because the wind side of the wave sees the air pushing on it directly, that gets a little more force than the downward or lee side of the wave would, and so the wave tends to grow. So the wave gets bigger and bigger, and we get into this gravity wave regime. So we have a longer wavelength, but we also have a higher amplitude. And if this process continues long enough, the waves steepen sufficiently that they start breaking. So the wind pushes the top over, and that breaks in this white capping process. So that's the little white tops you often see on waves in the ocean when it's windy. And that generally happens when it exceeds this steepness threshold, which is the wave height over the wavelength exceeding this 1/7 fraction. So depending on how strong the wind is blowing, of course, you're in a different space on that plot. You might have really, really small waves, or you might have really enormous breaking waves. And one way this is measured, and this scale is quite old, it's called the Beaufort scale, and it measures the sea state. But this is still used today by some Met services. And so it goes essentially from a force 0 state, which is essentially there's no wind, it's still. And you go up to slightly higher wind speeds, you start getting some ripples. You grow a bit more, you get to this state where you have some sort of smaller gravity waves with white capping starting to occur. And the wave heights keep growing as you go along here. You get more and more white capping. And then down the bottom here, you start getting truly enormous waves. So sort of 5 meters, 8 meters plus. And you get these very extreme turbulent situations. So depending on how strong the wind is, your ocean surface could fall anywhere in between, anywhere on this scale.